Hi there, it's Vicki Ross, and I am showing you here a pen and ink drawing that I did following Chris LePage, and his website is drawwithchris.com. Highly recommended if you are wanting to take your drawing face skills up to another level. I've learned a couple of different ways to measure, which is helpful, and this is, for me, this is good for illustrations and things that you're going to do in a journal. And if you know what the basic measurements are, then you can break the rules, like make the nose a whole lot longer than it really is in real life. When I'm painting, I paint from the inside out, meaning that I start with separating the shape into two. So you're looking at a face. I separate it into the lightest and darkest, and I paint the shapes and then start refining them with smaller areas and shapes. In drawing as an illustrator, you draw sometimes from the outside in, and they start with the skull. Both are correct. It just depends on what you want to do. I like the fact that I know some of each. These were also done in conjunction with Inktober 2020. It's the first time I've completed a challenge, and that's because it was faces, and that's my favorite thing. It'll get a little bit more exciting here in a minute. For me, in painting, it's the mystery of the face. You don't paint eyelashes. You may take a streak of dark and smear it with your finger. Where in drawing, if you're doing hyperrealism, you paint all that stuff. So, for example, on this one, where the eye socket is, I would just shade that in a medium tone, just a medium tone hexagon, and then continue on with the face. And then as you come back to the eyes, it's really kind of funny how you can sense where they go. And it keeps you from getting caught up in details too soon. I've never taken any formal drawing classes, so this was a good experience. Just because it's not what I want to do as an art form, doesn't mean I don't enjoy it or enjoy the fact that I know it. And it's also helped me with funky positions on heads, one that's tilted and then kicked up, things like that. And I did most of mine in pencil first and then inked. I kind of decided that I don't like ballpoint pen, even though I was using a .25 ballpoint pen. It was really unforgiving. I do silver point, which is drawing like this, but those lines are so light you can kind of go over them, where with the ballpoint pen, every line you make is the same darkness, same value. And you constantly measure. Even the high-end professionals do that. I encourage you to play your own music or listen to a podcast or something like that, because the music I would choose to cover the silence might not be anything you would like. So that's why I'm a proponent of the quiet video, except for chit chat. I did not even attempt to make these likenesses. That would have required a whole different procedure and taken a lot more time. I do like charcoal though, but that's not ink. What I'm measuring from is a photograph on my iPad, and I get the iPad image and my drawing image the exact same size, and that way all I have to do is measure and move my pencil over and measure, and it's the same. I don't have to do any calculations for, reducing it half or increasing the size by half. That just eliminates what does it eliminate? Eliminates being too fussy. There's my 0.25 pen. To get a likeness, you have to go a whole lot slower. You can start out with basic shapes and you can measure the model's feature measurements, but there's still little nuances of difference once you get the basics in for the, quote, most beautiful face, unquote. Then you can deviate from those, which is usually the personality of the person. And you do enough of this practice, you'll gradually have the eye-hand coordination down. But don't say that you can't draw, because it's not true. Drawing is a skill that you learn by practicing, just like football players and musicians. Painting is learned. So if you're willing to put in the time, you too can be well, that nose looks awful. But like I said, there's nothing you can do with the ink. And these are just studies, they're just practice pieces. the drawings that I covered, well, with Chris's challenge, it was anatomy, where you could draw some skulls, and they've got a 3D skull that it's in Masters Academy, and you do have to subscribe to get access to it, but the skull can be a 3D any way you want to position it. So we did some skulls, and gosh, I forgot the second one. The one I did the most of is copying old masters. And in his daily videos, daily drawings, he did some of all three categories. Doggone, I wish I could remember what that was. Oh. Timed poses. Those are fun. And there's a couple of sites on the internet where you can get really good, high quality poses from life. They're not made, they're done with video. And it's the next best thing to doing it live. One is drawthis.com. And there's Croquis Cafe, Croquis. You'll find several. And this is a technique I learned from some of the artists that were in the group who have had training in this. You don't draw the hair, you just put straight lines where the shape is. That's what I love about art. I don't care how good you are. There is some facet of art that you didn't conquer or hadn't been exposed to, or techniques that were handed down from teacher to student. And you will constantly learn, which keeps me from getting bored with it. Oh, I'm going to do another one. Y'all get a bonus. I did Ilya Repin, a Russian artist, John Singer Sargent, who's one of my favorite artists, and Rembrandt, who is not so favorite. He did some weird head studies, but maybe that's what people looked like then. And who else? Oh, Diego Velázquez, you know that guy, Spanish. I like Da Vinci's drawings better, but he had some weird ones too. Set a timer. These are some of the timed poses, and you attempt to do them in, I think this one was 15 minutes. Most of the ones I participated in were 15 minutes. And Chris has some free videos on his YouTube channel. From the brow bone to the bottom of the chin, or maybe let's just say the bottom of the mouth. That area is pretty well a straight line vertically and horizontally. And that's where your features fall, and that's where the bone structure is. But from the brow line up to the forehead, you can curve like I did just then. But that cross in the middle is always perpendicular. Yeah, erase it and then put it right back in the same spot. That works. And the line where the eyes are, which is that one right there, it's perpendicular. The eyes are straight to each other. Now they can tilt sideways, but they stay straight. The line stays straight. And then it curves after that to the ear. Does that make sense? One of the things I picked up from Chris is this method of drawing a hexagon shape for the eye hole, where the bone structure, there's a big hole there for the eye. And it reminds you how large the eyeball is, because it fills the entire space. You've seen people with fake eyes, and they pop them in the socket. They're pretty big size. And then what holds them in place are the lids. And that's just skin. It can be anything. It can be lifted by a plastic surgeon. It can be, droopy like mine are. But the plus sign in the middle is perpendicular. Another thing, a video that I'm watching, I'm about halfway through it. And a professional artist and teacher is demonstrating how Rembrandt did his paintings. I find that fascinating. I wish I had gone to art school, but I didn't. Heads that are tilted up are a little bit of a challenge for me. I have a lot of challenges, but you learn one and then all of a sudden there's 10 more. Checking the spaces. This is the Arteza journal, and it stood up to a lot of abuse. It's a mixed media journal, but I've used wet media on it. As long as you're not doing pores and stuff like that, it works great. I check measurements both ways too. I do horizontal, and then I also do the curve of the lines, the diagonal from, say, like the bottom of the ear to the nose. I think we're going to use every bit of the 15 minutes. What do you just think? It's okay if you go over. I mean, it's just a skill that you're practicing. There's no point in doing an entire finished study if what you're working on are eyes, say, or you're focused on features. Now, these are the planes of the face. It helps you with shading. The darkest spot on the face is what I'm putting in right now. On the inside of the eye, into the eye socket. And depending on which way the light goes, will determine how dark it is on each side. beginning to take form now. Light is what makes a two-dimensional drawing, like you drew a house when you were a kid, it's just flat, into a three-dimensional object. It's the light that makes the shadows. I'm avoiding the chin, that's why I'm jumping around.